Even after the fallout from when the Mega Powers exploded at WrestleMania 5 between Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, I was cemented as a Randy Savage fan. And so I took the route of the villain there. I mean, everybody didn't really care for Macho Man back then, but he played probably the best heel from that time period up until he retired like in 91 against the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7. So this is one of my favorite versions of him too. He reinvented himself perfect as this. So let's go ahead, enough talk, let's go ahead and open the sucker up. This figure really stands out in the store. I mean, the colors that the Macho Man always had were bright, vibrant, and colorful, and that always draws your attention. The second thing that really drew my attention was Meiji Okerlund's floating head there. Kind of looks kind of crazy though, but he's posed in a really cool position here. Like, he always had his finger out, kind of just waving it from side to side. Let's also let you know too, it's a Macho King. A lot of people sometimes will say, hey, that's a Macho Man. People forget for a short stint he was called the Macho King. An old-fashioned classic picture right here on the side, man. Looks badass. On the back here, I got the rest of the figures. It was just really interesting because I figured out, that I rewatched WrestleMania 18 not that long ago, where Hogan versus Rock, and that took place in Skydome. And WrestleMania 6, where the Macho King wrestled Dusty Rhodes, that also took place in Skydome. So this is really kind of a centric way to kind of just combine those two big matches together. One of my favorite things that struck me right away was how well these glasses stay on. I have a Macho Man Ultimate, and his glasses do not stay on whatsoever. But on this Elite, they hook in there very well. They're very snug, which is great. But the thing about the Macho Man and his glasses, they're so iconic. I mean, when I think of like Kanye West, when he used to wear some crazy, ridiculous sunglasses like back in the day, I think he had to be inspired by the Macho Man Randy Savage. I mean, and with the glasses off, the head sculpt's actually pretty decent though. So let's go ahead. The Macho King has these really cool taped up hands and forearms right here. And the look behind that was a lot of rock bands around that era did this look though. And so he kind of used it though. The really cool thing though about Macho Man though is for his outfits, he actually hired a very famous rock and roll wardrobe seamstress, and they created wardrobes for like Jimi Hendrix and everything else. So he always had like a really cool design backed by old school rock and roll history. And that style still continues all the way down to the rest of the tights and the boots though, man. I mean, he really put on a show like a rock star would. Now, the Macho King does come with 2 pointing index fingers, which is iconic for this pose he does right before he lands the flying elbow smash on Dusty Rhodes. For his scepter, Mattel decided to add this piece of tape on the end of it, and the reason why is because it does help hold it in place. So if you take it off, he kind of holds it a little loose. So if you lose the tape, you can still hold the scepter, but you're going to lose the tape. I lost mine in the first 10 minutes. I actually spent a good portion of this video trying to find it on my floor. But lo and behold, if you do lose that tape, you just take some Scotch tape, fold it over, it'll be just fine. And where would a king be without his crown, though? They did a great job getting that purple just right on the crown to match the scepter. It looks awesome, though. The detail up here is really cool, too. If you can't really tell on here, it says Macho up top. And this is kind of weird. I actually kind of want a crown like this to, I don't know, just look like a fool with it. I look like a complete jerk in it, but I don't care, man. That I also want the $1 million belt, so what the hell. But the hardest thing you're going to do with this figure right here, this crown does not go on without a bit of a fight. What you might have to do is get a hairdryer, turn the heat on low, and just put it underneath the hairdryer for just a little bit and shape and mold it to the head. And once it cools, it'll actually kind of stay on the figure a lot better over time. The WWE Elite line has great articulation. Even with Macho Man's long hair, it doesn't really hinder the back movement too much. So if you want to tilt the head back, there's a little give to it. Also, the elbows are super great right here. I got pinless joints. The freaking hips and waist move really well. I mean, you can do the freaking splits if you want, but all in all, the knees, standard issue Elite, which hold up pretty good. The feet work pretty well. I've just been having a little issues with standability with it, but for the most part, I think it's just because it's not broken in yet. And for my final review on the Macho King Randy Savage is this. He only had that gimmick for a few years. I believe from 89 until WrestleMania 7, which was 1991. Yeah. So, lo and behold, though, they did a great job of replicating what his attire looked like back then. With the tape around the arms, stuff like that. Plus, the most important things was that crown and that scepter. But that scepter, they could have did better. Instead of just having tape, they could have just made it a little bit wider so he holds it in his hand. But not a huge issue, but it does kind of bother a little bit, though. The glasses look freaking phenomenal, and they hold for the most part pretty decent. My only problem with those glasses though is they do fall off over time. These ones do somewhat of a better job, but like I said, only did this review and I've only played this action figure for like about an hour. So let's hope that it still holds up though. But for detail, I gotta score this one an 8.75 out of 10. I wish there was a little bit more they could add to it though, but they had the basics down and they did it well. For the posability though, the figure does very well for itself though. The Macho King wasn't really super strong like Hulk Hogan or the Ultimate Warrior, but he was more agile and he was more athletic than them though. So with that being said though, with the pinless joints right here in the elbow, so we can go ahead and pull off that flying elbow smash, you know, big points on that. Also, the thing I like about these Elite figures though is they work themselves out over time. So like I had some sustainability issues with it. That's not really going to be a big problem though. I had a little bit of match back there with Dusty Rhodes, so it was a lot of fun though, and it worked very well for my fig fed. So this is my Macho King. I already have a Macho Man. Now I have the Macho King for the fig fed, so I'm happy. This will work well in posing or playing. So I'm gonna have to give let's give the posability an 8.75. Also, a little bit higher than average, but not super great. For the fun factor, though, this one's going to get good marks. So, I mean, I cut my teeth as a Macho King fan. He was a bad guy back then. Everybody's like, oh, why you root for the Macho King? I don't care, dude. Dude, I liked Macho Man when he won the championship at WrestleMania 4. After that, became my favorite wrestler of all time. I don't think he's the greatest wrestler of all time, but he's my favorite wrestler of all time. So I cut my teeth during this time period. So a little bit of nostalgia is going to play into this with though, but to be realistic, though, this won't be for everybody. If you want a different version of the Macho Man, because there's a lot of Macho Mans out there, get a Macho King switched up and put them in your fig fed or just pose them. But all the accessories that come with it, though, really adds to the value and just the fun factor alone. So I have to give this one pretty decent marks. I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10. Great marks and just a great figure. I mean, even if you weren't around during that time, you'll appreciate this figure. And you might even go back and check out some of the classic matches he had. That is it, folks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is the last video I got to make right before I put the Mean Gene Okerlund figure together, so I'm really excited about that, though. Thank you guys so much for sticking around just for the whole series and just for these videos in general, man. Y'all mean the world to me, though. If you guys like to, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them, though. If you like to, go ahead and subscribe. I'm putting out videos as often as I can possibly. And then y'all take care of yourselves, though, man. You mean the world to me. I hope you do.